on which country you're in. Often in South Africa we call them wildebeest, but up in East Africa they often term them as gnu's. And as you can see, hopefully as you can see, I know the picture's not great, but you'll notice its head's very close to the ground, and that's what wildebeest like to feed on. They like to feed on very short grass. Now, in this area of the Sabi Sands, there's typically not very much of this around. There's not many open grassy clearings with short grass, and that's one of the major factors which determines that there are not many wildebeest around. It's simply the wrong habitats. And even though they can certainly occur here, life will be easier elsewhere, you could say, especially for larger herds or larger numbers. There's enough food for him, and he is alone, and not uncommon for older bulls to live alone. Insights. They're in no danger whatsoever. Hyena will 99% of the time avoid confrontation with humans, especially during the daylight hours, and also especially when we as humans are awake and standing up on our own two legs. A time that hyena can be dangerous if you are fast asleep, and that is the only times that I've heard of people being killed by hyena, when they are in fact sleeping with your tent open or your door open, or you've fallen asleep somewhere where you shouldn't have with no protection around you. That is when hyena can become dangerous to humans, and there's no need for them to actually confront us as humans there, because the cub had sufficient time to escape into the burrow, and the adults could simply run away, and that's what they would do. So no, there's no threats from the hyena to the people on foot. The other threats would come from other animals like buffalo and herds of elephants, lions, leopard. Now, we've got a very interesting relationship going on here, and that is between a fork-tailed drongo and a blue wildebeest. Now, the fork-tailed drongo is hanging around because it knows the wildebeest will, as it moves, chase up little insects, which essentially flush them for the drongo, and the drongo at any moment now will fly down and catch one. So, wait and see. How long will it take this wildebeest to chase up a little insect for the fork-tailed drongo? And as the wildebeest moves, the drongo too will follow along and land on perches nearby, and again wait for easy meals to be chased up. Sadly for the drongo, the wildebeest is not moving enough to chase up insects frequently, but it still will at some stage. Oh, here we go, this is promising now. With a bit of movements, it's more likely it's going to chase something up. Lewis from Buffalo, New York, welcome on board, and thanks very much for joining us. Lewis has noticed there's a lump on the right shoulder of the wildebeest and is wondering if that could in fact be TB. I'm not too sure. It could be the case, but I'm not entirely certain. I know that the TB is common in the buffalo and the lion, but I'm not sure whether it actually occurs in the wildebeest, if it's a problem for them. Oh, there's the fork-tailed drongo still following. You'll probably see it darting in and out of the shot as the wildebeest moves off. Where's it gone? Oh, there it is in the top left of your screen, and keep an eye on it. It's going to fly off to the right and follow in the wildebeest direction. You can just see the wildebeest's horn and tail wagging there, and the fork-tailed drongo's semi-obscured by some big green leaves in the top left of your screen. The wildebeest has stopped, so the drongo doesn't have to move, but I'm sure as the wildebeest takes its next few steps, we will see the drongo following in its trail. There we go. There was a little insect that the drongo flew down to catch. Thank you, wildebeest. Everyone's happy. So, thank you very much for asking that question, but again, I'm not entirely certain that the wildebeest are affected by tuberculosis. Again, I'm sure a lot of you are already typing away and researching that, so let us know what you think and what you come up with on that topic. But well noticed, and it's so wonderful that you are often the people to alert myself and Brian to these finer details. Brian's got a very small viewfinder on the camera, so it's difficult for him to see some of the finer details. As is for me, I've got a tiny little monitor that I can see exactly what Brian's filming, but it's small and often covered in dust. So the images you are getting are often better than what either Brian and myself are seeing here. So thanks for pointing out and looking closely into the animals and finding those little interesting bits of information to share with us. Okay, folks, well, I'm sure Mark's wanting to update you on what he's been up to, and he's in a beautiful, beautiful location on Arathusa. So enjoy, and we will catch up with you a little bit later.
Hi everybody, just a mistake before our chat, let's go to listen to something on the radio. We've got some zebra that are about to leave Arathusa. Sadly, as we've come, I've been following their tracks, and as we come to see them, they're all leaving Arathusa. We've done the entire length of Arathusa. I see the radio stopped now. Last station. Pity, because it's a really lovely herd of zebra, but unfortunately, nothing I can do.
Definitely that local to Madonna. You go to the Makuru Temple in front of Klariskaya. On the eastern side, there's a 5-foot ticket. They were forgotten that ticket run out.
There's the pole. And my timber's on Hoffman. Sorry. But we can't go any further south from this. There's a really pretty mare. It's got some incredible shadow striping. And
from near every killing mala that I see is Madonna mala. All of it's Madonna's now. All of that, all the kills that I see is Madonna. Easy now, that's right. It's not a good sign for us, Madonna.
Guys are just chatting on the radio that all the kills that they're seeing, we're not seeing any kills, but obviously the way all these other cats are, they are killing, and guys are just commenting that the kills all seem to be male impala, and it is that time of the year. The male impalas are so busy rutting they don't.
On my way there, just bump to Dovo,
Oh, that's where that big herd of elephant have gone that I wanted to look for. also down south. It seems that other guys around the reserve are not having as much of a hard time as we are. They found them at timbers. There was some chat about, I don't know, some incident with those Matimbas, but I couldn't catch it and nobody was caught. The thing is that I'm picking up another channel because it's on scans. I can't talk to them, I can only hear them. And I was hoping I could do that with the Arathusa radio, but unfortunately it's not going to happen unless they're just not chatting on the Arathusa channel. But there's something very special here on the open airstrip of Arathusa. Something we saw briefly and it was the first time we ever had it on camera, and so this is going to be the second time I think we're going to have it on camera, and this time it is on Arathusa. It's not making its way south off of the airstrip just yet. We might get to actually see it hunting a little bit. It's going to be very interesting. Last night and the night before at Manyaleti, right at the fence line of the camp, some big male lion were calling last night, Brian and Viam. Did Emmanuel go with you? Yeah. And Emmanuel walked down to the fence line and actually saw the lion through the fence. Big male, I'm guessing it was possibly Matimbas. Viam was asking if it could be, sorry, not Matimbas, Salatis. It was you, Brian, that asked about Matimbas. Brian. And well, it can't be Matimbas because they south of Djuma, and I don't think they'd make their way all that way up to Manyaleti main camp. Plovers are complaining, but so this other character was here somewhere. Let's hope it's still here. I'm sure it was in line with these Impala. To come straight to it, but then I noticed the zebra. I thought the zebra were going to be standing around grazing, but they're evidently quite shy, those zebra. Strange. I'm not seeing it now. There it is. Oh. I just want to get to a spot where we'll be able to see it without it going behind bushes, to be able to watch it for a little bit. And I want to send the question out there to you, the viewer, wherever you may be. Who do you think this is?
That squirrel has been going there for a long time.
Raising its crest. I don't know if the squirrel's shouting at this bird. This bird is a bird of prey. It's a very active bird of prey. It spends its day walking around short grassland areas like this, mostly open grassland. It doesn't really like to be in very bush areas, very dense areas. And it's a famous snake catcher. Getting a message from Final Control that there was an update from Arathusa guides a little while ago saying that the secretary bird killed a scrub hare some time ago, and a tawny eagle tried to steal it from the secretary bird. It might be moving out of this low scrub. This low scrub is from a fire. Bush willows, guarries, brownleaf teak. Come out wherever you are. Quite a remarkable bird. enormous wingspan. They soar at very, very high altitudes when they're going from one area to another. Generally nesting in a flat-crowned tree, like the flat-crowned acacias that we get, the umbrella thorn. A very, very large nest. It's quite interesting when you have secretary bird's nest to see all the remains of different prey items that you find underneath the nest. I found, I think it was up to 8 baby tortoises once, where they must have found tortoise eggs hatching, and they must have just systematically wiped out almost all the tortoises. Oh look, some warthog. Hello pigs. This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed at home. This little piggy had short grass. This little piggy had none. Hello warthogs. Sorry if we're not really going to be... See, now the secretary bird has stopped because we changed camera angles. See the leggings, the black leggings, and then it's got these crest feathers like quills, like a quill pen tucked behind the secretary's ear. Like it's missing a tail feather or two. Very hardened pads under the feet that allow the secretary bird to actually stomp its prey to death. One of the interesting things about them too is that they're very, very aware of opportunities for hunting. And quite often, when there are bushfires, you'll see secretary birds walking through the still smouldering ashes, picking up scorched creatures or creatures that have escaped the fire. Warthog's having a little bit of a rub. It was. They are probably threatened, Bob. They are not as numerous as they once were. I think mostly because a lot of the grassland areas have been are now under farming. But they are in the right habitat, you're likely to see them, and it's rare to have them here in the Sabi Sand because we don't have these very big open areas like we have here at the airstrip. This is ideal territory for it. It is a little bit small in terms of size of the area. I think the Secretary to Bird must do a few laps of this airstrip and the surrounding open area each day, because normally they would need to cover a few miles a day in their hunting. So it's not so much that they're rare, they're very habitat specific. They can't really move around in very tall grasses, and we just don't have this type of habitat for them. Let's see if we can get a little closer to it again. I'd like to stay with it for a little while, since it is a rather rare sighting. We might have it here every day for the next while, going through the dry season. There's no telling of how long it will stay, and there's also no telling whether we're going to see it again. So I think the opportunity to, in any case, this central road is where it's heading now. It's the road I wanted to go on anyway. But we might get to see it in action. A lot of starlings around it. Well, Anna Marie sent a tweet to #SafariLive, and that tweet is about wanting to know, how did it get its name? Well, as I was trying to explain earlier, Anna Marie, if you look at it now, if I stop, we're a little bit closer, it's a little bit more open. And hopefully it's not going to move too far away. Those feathered legs down to the ankle that you can see, what look like black leggings, and the grey waistcoat, and then of course it's got these nape feathers, the feathers that sometimes you'll see it raise those crest feathers, but they, I suppose, were like the pencil behind the Secretary's ear. It's all I can think of is one of the reasons why it was called the Secretary bird. Its scientific name is Sagittarius serpentarius, a serpent-eating raptor. A unique family of birds known as the Sagittariidae. It's the only one of the family. Here come the plovers. Look at that. They must have a nest nearby, and they are now mobbing it. Let's try and get a bit closer. I think the Sagittarius. I think the Secretary bird knows that it's near a nest, and so it's going to probably try and run around and find the chicks. This is the time of the year that these crowned lapwings are nesting. I hope it doesn't find the nest, but we're going to just try and keep up with it and see. They'll probably even knock it on the head. I'm not going to go too much further just in case the nest is here somewhere. Because we'll be able to go back onto the airstrip road. Sometimes the plovers will actually land on the ground. Certainly for jackal and things, they'll do the broken wing like other lapwings. They'll pretend to have a broken wing and they'll flap around on the ground and draw a predator away from their nest. But here I think they're just, as long as they're bombarding it, what we call mobbing it, the bird can't really hunt, and it'll either, if it can't find anything to eat within close to their nest, maybe the chicks or the eggs, it'll most likely just keep moving away from them. But I'm going to just go back around on the road. south of us on Hoffman and Little Gowrie, guys from one of the other lodges, were talking about something that was killed by the Matimbas, I think. I don't know if they were talking about Djuma male, but evidently something was found dead this morning. Oh, that looks like leopard dung. Must be old dung. Carol wants to know if the secretary bird flies. Yes, it does, Carol. They fly from their nests to their feeding grounds. Their nests would be usually on the edges of an open area in the trees, a flat-crowned tree generally. Even a small tree like this little round one on the left that we're going past, they would flatten the top of that, put a lot of sticks in there, put low to the ground. It would normally be a lot higher than that. But yes, they do fly a very big wingspan. They soar at extremely high altitude, sometimes up to 5,000 feet. Sherry wants to know how tall it is. That's probably about 3 foot tall. It is quite tall, Sherry. For a bird, it's a little bit shorter than a bustard. I'll see if I can find a size for you in the bird book. If it's not in the bird book, it'll be in my raptor book. But I can also show you a picture in the bird book. Oh, they are really upset, these lapwings. .4 meters, so that is 1.5 meters, it's 3.5, nearly 4 feet tall. Let's go forward. Oops, I pressed the wrong button and now the alarm system is activated. No, it's all good. I've done that before. 1236 inches. So 48, 50, 55 inches maybe. Granny Billy, Florida. Hello, Granny Billy. Would like to know what is the largest prey item a secretary bird would take down? Probably something like a scrub hare, I would say, Billy. And let's try and find it for you in my raptor book rather than in the general bird book, because the raptor book will give a much better page 26, much better view of it. There we go. Crested, or rather, there's the crowned lapwings. I'll make my way over to the dam at some point. We're right here in front of the lodge. That's why we've got these contractors and the electrical suppliers here. So we'll do a loop and I'll see what I can find. See you a bit later.
welcome back everyone, and we're just double checking this area for a predator. You can hear a squirrel alarm calling. I'm just trying to establish what it is exactly that this squirrel can see. Now, while we just wait in this area and see if any little predators do pop up. The squirrel could be alarm calling at something small like a snake or a mongoose, or something big like a leopard. Either way, we'll just wait here and see if we get any more clues. And while we wait, I can give you an update. So I know Mark may have touched on it. That's what I spoke to Cedric, one of the Arethusa guides, in passing a little bit earlier, and he said that they found a dead lion cub. In all likelihood, a cub from one of the Styx lionesses that had given birth around a month or so ago, I'm guessing. We've never seen the cubs, and therefore I don't know too much about them. And it's believed that the Matimba males killed the cubs. It wasn't actually last night that they think the cub was killed. They think it was the night before last when the Matimba males crossed into Arethusa. And you may remember Mark following their tracks yesterday morning into Arethusa. So it's obviously sad news, but it is a reality out here, and males who did not father certain cubs will kill them if they come across them. So that is the norm, and it'll be interesting to hear any further updates from the Arethusa guides. I believe that there were potentially 3 cubs in total, but they've only found the carcass of one, so they're not sure whether the other 2 are still alive or if they've also been killed. Even though they found the one cub intact, I guess, there's nothing stopping or saying that the coalition, the Matimba coalition, wouldn't have fed on and consumed the other 2 little cubs. They will occasionally feed on animals that they have killed. Just heard a vehicle behind us, so I'm going to keep moving. If we're going to traffic jam, maybe I'll actually just let Aubrey go past here. Morning, Orbs. How you doing? Hello, folks. How you doing? Good. Where are you heading to, Orbs? Okay. Okay, perfect. Hey. Have a good one. Sorry about that. Just checking which route Aubrey's going to take, and he's going to take a Gwari Pan Road, which is perfect because that won't interfere with our routing to Buffelshoek Dam, which we are approaching. We should be there in the next 5 minutes. And I've told Brian there will be a leopard there drinking when we arrive, and we will watch it drink. Once it's finished drinking, it's then going to proceed to take us to its kill, which it's going to have stashed nearby.
It's a very bold statement.
Yeah, so those are my predictions. I could be wrong. I think I might be wrong. But that's what I'm hoping for. The clock is ticking, and I'm desperate to show all of you a leopard, and also see a leopard before I head off on leave later today. It would be a great way to finish off our last drive. For the time being, I will be back. It's just a short break. Okay, now we just found some male leopard tracks here. So, the good news. Let me just jump off and see where they go quickly, and hopefully we will have a leopard shortly. It's been up and down here. important because they are up and down all over here. So I'm just going to get a hold of Aubrey quickly and see if he doesn't have any tracks on the road he's taken. Aubrey, do you have any Ingwem Konzo on Gwaripan? There's tracks over Madoda and Amafazi up and down at the Sipho Pools, Gwaripan Junction. Well, I think what we should do anyway, even though I can't establish which direction the tracks are going, is just head towards Buffelshoek Dam. When in doubt, head to the waterhole. So we're just going to head down there and see if the tracks don't continue in that direction. I'm hoping they're going to. So time will tell.
I got one month out there. Forward and cross to Church Road along the Pipeline Road.
Okay, copy. Thank you. Well, that solves that problem. It's not good news, but it's news nonetheless. And those leopards' tracks were seen crossing east into Torchwood, our neighbouring property. So we're not going to find those two, but maybe we'll find someone else or something else. The leopard have been dodging us.
Police station popping me.
But maybe this will be good news. Go ahead for Scots.
I'm sure she takes that down.
Sorry, I'm not copying you very clearly. What would you like me to tell Aubrey? Well, as you can tell, we are having some issues with the radios at the moment. So Mark's battling to get a hold of the guys on Arathusa for any updates that they may have. And even us here occasionally having trouble communicating with the vehicles on Djuma. There's just a hyena track there that got me excited for a moment. Good morning, Lauren, and welcome on board with us. Lauren is interested to know whether a 3-year-old lion male from the Nkuhuma Pride, who is in the process of being kicked out by his fathers, the same lions that allegedly killed one of the Styx lioness cubs. It's not an instantaneous thing, so I think he will be lingering a little bit longer with the Pride, and there'll be a few altercations with him and his fathers before I think he gets the message that it's time for him to move off. Anyway, when it is time for him to go for good, Lauren would like to know if there's a chance he would meet up with the Birmingham boys and join into their coalition. Anything's possible, but I personally am leaning towards the thought that it's not likely that they would accept him, and if anything, if those 5 came across him, they'd probably kill him. It's not necessarily guaranteed, and it could be that they have an altercation and then become friends thereafter, provided he doesn't get killed in that altercation. And that's not uncommon for lone lions, or one lion meeting up with another 1 or 2 that it's never seen before, as it's moving out of its pride's original territory. It'll be common for them to have a fight and then potentially make friends and then form a coalition after their fight, but that initial meeting will often be a confrontational one. Thereafter they may resolve their issues and team up. It's possible. The way you're going to find out that question, Lauren, is by staying tuned, because hopefully we'll be able to show you what goes on, but failing that, we'll definitely be able to give you updates along the way, what other guides on the surrounding properties may see. Speaking of things to see, there's not much to see at Buffelshoek Dam, so we are not going to even stop. I don't even think the hippo's here today. The signal might be bad for a second as we go through this dip.
Hi everybody. We reached the western edge of our transect of Apuza this morning. Picked up the leopard tracks, but they were from yesterday, Tingana's tracks crossing over to the south. There were more elephant that had come back here yesterday, but they also crossed back to the southwest. So we did pretty much the whole length of Arathusa from north to south, and we've now done east to west. And well, it is only a small patch of Arathusa, but it looks like Arathusa is about as quiet as Djuma is at the moment in terms of animal movement. There are a few birds around. I've seen some impala. The left Arathusa. So also shocking news about the Styx cub. That's really sad. It is unfortunately what lions do to each other. Lions are their own predators. It's nature. I suppose an easy way for us to write it off to just say that it's nature, but that is exactly what's been happening for millions of years.
Closing down.
And the Styx pride, Sam, they just haven't had much luck with Styx. Let's cross the river Styx. The Styx cubs cross the river Styx. I never even got to see those cubs. Haven't been able to bump into anyone from Arathusa this morning, so we don't know if anything has been found on Arathusa. We didn't pick up any sign of Shadow and her cub this morning, other than that one set of tracks that crossed from the power line that Scott had and just sort of cut across the corner of Arathusa into Simbambili, which is to the west, northwest. Day is warming up, sun's coming out, starting to open up the cloud, and getting some warm weather back. question. Liz from Wisconsin wanting to know if we ever get earthquakes. Not quite like recent ones in Nepal, or I don't think we've ever had anything higher than a 4. We've had some earthquakes down in the Cape. There's tectonic plate movement that's happening down in the Cape, close to the coast, and there are a lot of earth tremors up on the Highveld on the western side of Johannesburg, where all the gold mines are. It's possibly got a lot to do with the gold mines. But the Carletonville area of South Africa is at Welkom, a town called Welkom, which means welcome. They're both notorious for the earth tremors and shakes that happen there, but never really anything serious. There was one a couple of, I don't know, maybe within last year, it was, I don't think it quite registered at 2, but it shook buildings and it caused a little bit of damage. Other than that, South Africa, we're very, very lucky in that we don't have many very severe natural phenomena. We do have floods and we have drought. We have had, yes, we have a lot of bushfires in the dry season. Occasionally extreme winds or like mini tornadoes. We are often at the back end of cyclone activity off the Gulf of, or rather the Mozambique Channel. Gulf, sorry, not a Gulf. Off of Mozambique, we get cyclones that come in off of the Indian Ocean, and sometimes we get the tail end of that, which causes severe flooding. This vehicle's running away with itself, not even touching the accelerator. Okay, slow down, Jigger. So we've done a fairly big loop around Arathusa. I didn't get to the Arathusa Dam because we were south of the safari camp, south of Arathusa Safari Lodge. And we're going to slowly make our way back towards Djuma. Brown bird on the ground, but it flew. Sharon, Ohio. Pittsburgh. Ohio. I bet I'm holding something at the end of this. Probably the second bird again. We're going to have a look. Why not? Why not? I think we could take this track. I don't know if it is a real track, but we can take it. Ah, I see that. Sharon was asking if the sticks, or rather if the Matimbas were seen mating with the sticks female, why is it that they would then kill one of the cubs? Well, Sharon, it could very well be that the cub belongs to another male, but it also could be that maybe this recent left them with a little bit of pent-up aggression. I don't know. It's something we can only speculate about. We will never know the reason why. When things like that happen, it's very difficult to understand why. Even if they were the fathers of those cubs. We know that they killed one. Evidently the other cubs are missing. Or unaccounted for as yet. I'm seeing warthog. I'm seeing that family of 2 females with the 7 piglets. Ah, there is the secretary bird down there with the warthog. I doubt that the secretary bird would go for one of the young warthogs. I don't think it would be fast enough. Maybe when they were newborn. I was actually wondering if the warthog we saw earlier were part of these earlier warthog that we saw. I just wanted to see how many of these piglets are still here. But it sounds like we're going over to Scott. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So far, 6 piglets. Gone off from the back end of the airstrip now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Still got 7 piglets, so they're still doing a great job, these 2 mama pigs.
Welcome back everyone, and I forgot to mention earlier, how awesome is it that you had a very long sighting with Mark and the secretary bird earlier. What an awesome bird, and Brian and I are very jealous to hear about the fact that there was also the blacksmith lapwings getting involved, and apparently they were getting quite concerned when the secretary bird was getting close to them, or possibly even their nests. Now, speaking of about to head back into the area where we saw the 2 Verreaux's eagle owls yesterday afternoon, and we'll see if they're still around, if they've managed to finish their guinea fowl kill. And while we make our way there, just some updates, and it's really exciting stuff. The Wild Earth team is in the process of rapidly expanding, so it's important to know that in the coming weeks and months you should expect to see some new faces, new presenters, new cameramen, and that's really awesome, and I'm certainly looking forward to meeting and getting to know the new people that join our crew. So the first person who will be joining in the next few days, he's just coming in on an interview. His name's James. I know him from where I used to work in the southern Sabi Sands. He used to work in a lodge next door. He's incredibly experienced and a real entertainer, so I'm sure you're all going to love him. But when he does arrive, and I think he'll be doing his first, I'm not going to be here, I'm leaving today, but Brent will be here, and him and Brent actually worked at the same lodge, so they know one another very well. And I'm sure Brent's going to give him a hand, but it's important to understand that a lot of us are coming into the role as presenters for the first time. So just like myself, just like Brent, and just like James now, he will be a very experienced guide, but wouldn't have had too much experience with a camera behind him. You'd be used to having guests behind him, so it does take a little bit of getting used to. So don't be too rough on him, and I'm sure you're going to really enjoy what he brings to the table. And that's the wonderful thing about this industry, and I guess about life in general, is that everybody's different, and everybody will have their different styles and techniques and stories to share with you. And the more presenters we get on board, the more diverse and exciting I think our product will be, and the same goes for cameramen and directors and anybody who gets involved with our growing team. They're going to bring in new thoughts and ideas, and basically it's just really exciting prospects that lie ahead, and who knows what future projects we'll get involved in. There's a whole continent to explore and take you on safari to, so who knows where we'll end up next. For now though, very happy to be in the Sabi Sands, and we are very lucky to be here on Djuma and Arathusa, and look forward to a few more months of action, it's of how long we'll be here for, and any future products and safaris that you may be able to join in on. Driving underneath a beautiful big jackalberry tree where I'm hoping to find 2 Varro's eagle owls, so stand by. I guess I could have been a little bit more clear in terms of our future plans for Djuma and Arathusa. I said we'd be here for a couple of months. The plan is to stay here indefinitely, forever. So hopefully we will stay here for as long as we can, and that is the plan at this stage. So there's no plans on going anywhere, and how awesome we'll be able to keep sharing and keep growing the stories of the animals here and what goes on with all of you. And we are now approaching the tree that we need to look in. There's this big green tree on our left. I'm just going to try and approach as slowly as possible, but we do have to loop around a little bit to get into a position where we'll be able to see up and into the canopy of this tree. We'll be looking for the silhouettes and shapes of these owls, because it's difficult to see color when looking up into that dark mass. Buffalo thorns trees, which are the very nasty thorns that I'm going to try and evade at all costs. It appears like nobody's home. Stay in this area. Anyway, it's fair to say that they're not here, so while Brian and I get ourselves out of this spot, let's head across to Mark and see what he's up to. We'll catch up a little bit later.
Hi everyone. Oh, that little baby ellie in the road. Just had a herd of elephant crossing. I don't know how I missed them, but they were on Arathusa. They're all crossing into Hoffman's right now. Quite a lot of them. And they've already seen more than half a dozen or even more, 10 odd ellies to the right. That makes about a dozen already with this family group that's just come in. Hello Elliot. Sorry, I missed them. And that's the quickest glimpse we get. And now there's a big truck that's coming along, and that's just going to probably move them deeper into the bush. Now I'm going to have to get off the road. Okay, sorry folks, we're going to have to move. That's the closest I can get to these ellies. They're all heading south. Something's happening to the south, because everything's moving south. Backwards a little bit, see if there's still any sign of a pachyderm from the road. Very deep in, and now I'm getting to about 50 meters off the road. I've been concentrating so much on tracks this morning. I was looking at the road and I saw these fresh elephant tracks. And as I slowed down, there was an elephant next to me. Now they're very far in, unfortunately. Maybe make out the back of one of them. As I get a question in. Through there, maybe. Trying to maneuver. Faint glimpse of an ear flapping as they walk away, heading off into the distance. Hello, Liz in Wisconsin again, wanting to know if this is a herd that has the female ellie with a shortened trunk. I have no idea, Liz. Unfortunately, I saw a couple of the youngsters, and mostly only saw the back of these ellies. I don't know. Can't answer that, I'm afraid. That one with the shortened trunk isn't the only one. There are one or two others that we have seen. But as far as I know, that one with the shortened trunk is, at the moment, has been on her own with two calves around Gari, around Djuma, unless she's joined up with the herd. But this herd's coming from sort of the west, heading east. Take Gari Main, head east with Gari Main, who knows, maybe they are walking parallel with Gari Main. Still a little bit far in, about more than 100 yards in off of Gari Main. south than east, so I don't know, we'll see. But this is more or less where I am now, sort of in line with where these ellies went when I last saw them. And it was great to see the secretary bird. I hope it's going to be around for a while. It'd be nice for it to get accustomed to the vehicle so we can actually follow it for a while. And more importantly, it would be nice to see it actually chasing something and feeding. Not that I'm wishing the death of a small animal, but it would be nice to observe something we don't get to see very often. And of course this last little bit with the elephants to top the morning off. Not much to follow up on for this afternoon in terms of tracks because there just haven't been any, but we'll be trying different areas this afternoon to see what we can find. Thanks for joining me. My name is Mark. Liam has been on camera, and I'll see you at 3 o'clock Central African time when we head out for our sunset safari in a few hours time. Love you lots. Bye.
Welcome back, everyone. Just a few minutes left, but Brian and I are just about to reach the open clearings where we started this morning's drive with some male impala fighting quite ferociously with one another. And for those of you who've only joined recently, we actually went live a little bit earlier than normal because there was such good action we couldn't resist sharing it with you. It'll be interesting to see if there are any more impala floating around here and if there's any more fighting being done amongst themselves. I hope you've all enjoyed the sunrise drive today. I certainly have, and again, just to reiterate, I'm going to be heading off on leave for a few days. I'll be back next week, Wednesday, I think. And Brent's coming back in today, so I'm sure a lot of you are looking forward to seeing him back in the driver's seat. Good question through from Anne on Twitter, and Anne has brought up the topic of quarantine in Djuma, 2 young male leopards. They're 2.5 years old now roughly, and we haven't been seeing them as much as we used to, and Anne is wondering if that could be attributed to them being kicked where they grow up, which is essentially their mother's territory. Now they'll continue to spread further afield, probably a lot of the time into their father's territory, but even from there on they're going to have to move into a territory of their own. Wherever they move, they're probably going to be in another dominant male leopard's territory, because the dominant males all around and territories buffer up to one another. But that's what it's all about, and that's normal. And what those leopards are going to have to do is fly below the radar as they slink through territories of dominant males. They will eventually get to a point where they're big enough and bold enough to confront some dominant males, but that'll probably be in another 2 years from now when they start actively trying to compete. In the time being, they're going to be learning the ropes, fine-tuning their hunting, and getting a little bit bigger, or considerably bigger, before they get into battles for territory with other dominant males. And that's probably, yes, why we're seeing them less and less often. I think we will still see them for a few more months, but thereafter they may be gone. But that's fine, because they're going to make space for Karula's new cubs that are hopefully on the way at some stage. There's a lot of, that's a whole other debate that we can have another day. Anyway, very big thank you for joining us on these safaris, and thanks so much for all the questions you've sent through, and sorry about the tech issues a little bit earlier on this morning's drive. And always a big thanks to Brian on camera, and to Tara, who was in the director's chair this morning, and Nikki, who was lending her a hand in the final control. We will see you all next week, but that's just me. Brent and Mark will be out this afternoon, and I hope you have a wonderful afternoon drive with them. There's no sign of these Impala, but they'll be around, and I'm sure Brent and Mark will be sharing a lot more Impala action with you over the coming weeks. We'll see you later.